I mean, they obviously know what they're doing because they're making all the big profits out of this. And meanwhile, I have stacks of mainstream news where suddenly mainline armies is being deployed in the streets of America. That's coming up later. I mean, the picture I'm trying to paint here is what I see. It's just, it's so diabolical. Or are you just saying they're so greedy and corrupt, they're just like pirates snatching goods out of the burning ship?
Yeah. I'm not even sure they're smart enough to know it's burning. I certainly agree with you that Goldman Sachs and the investment banks are putting their short-term profits above everything else. And they're ruining their own future. Because, once the dollar is not the reserve currency, a Wall Street investment bank doesn't have anything like the power or influence that it has had. So by focusing on their short-term profits, and it is a form of plunder and looting, because the profits are coming at the expense of other people. It's not a win-win trading situation. So the fact that they're so short-term in their outlook means they're contributing to the decline that we've been talking about, and so they're going to end up going down too. And they're also losing their credibility and the trust of financial institutions in other countries, which will make it harder and harder for them to function and do business. So,
give us your take on Barack Obama and where this guy's going.
Well, Alex, nothing has changed. He hasn't repealed the police state measures. He hasn't, he's escalated the war in Afghanistan. He started a new one in Pakistan. The one good thing, possibly, is he's going to put some of those Guantanamo prisoners on trial in the United States. And this gives a chance for the lawyers for those prisoners to bring the real evidence out, which if they succeed and are permitted by the trial judges, could greatly embarrass the United States. And so you could say that this is, you could interpret it, I don't know how to interpret it, that Obama is trying to change things by putting a public trial out, and it may show that the Bush actions were really inexcusable and illegal. So you could look at that in a positive way, but I can't think of anything else about the administration that you could see in a positive way. He's certainly not ended wars, though he seems to be dragging his feet about further escalation in Afghanistan. Now, what everyone has to understand is the president really hasn't got much power anymore, because the organized lobby are more powerful than the government. The financial lobby, Goldman Sachs, they are the Treasury, the Federal Reserve. In other words, they are the government. You see what I'm saying? It's an independent private lobby that's controlling two of the most important parts of the government. The investment bankers control the Treasury and the Federal Reserve. And then you have another very powerful lobby, the military security lobby, and they control the Pentagon and the State Department. And they want war because it makes money for them. The security aspects, like all the police state measures, because they get more power, they're less accountable. And then, of course, we have AIPAC. Everyone knows the strength of the American-Israeli, what they call it, the American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee. that is another extremely powerful lobby. And, of course, they want to keep American troops in the Middle East, beating down opposition to Israeli territorial expansion. So if you look at those three lobbies, and you're a mere president, what are you going to do? You can't. What can you do?
Well, I totally agree with you.
Everywhere. You're completely boxed in. And so unless you're extremely clever and can find some way to exposing them without them knowing that's what you're doing, I just don't think the president has any power.
Well, that's not going to happen because those three lobbies and several others, the big lawyer lobby as well, they put Obama in. And so he's going to continue and expand the wars. He's going to continue letting Goldman Sachs loot the nation. They're in control of the system. And he's one of their creatures. And I agree. He's a teleprompter reading frontman, just like Bush. He's just better at it and better looking than Bush. My whole issue is they bring him in, they build him up to mythic proportions. Now they're tearing him down. That way in 3 years to 7 years when he's gone, everybody blames it on Obama instead of blaming it on the real power structure. Going back to Dr. Paul Craig Roberts. Doc, tell folks about your latest book. You've got a new edition out on the tyranny of good intentions.
Yes, there's a new edition out and a new printing. And there's another book coming out, I think, within a month.
Oh, great.
How the Economy Was Lost. It explains the whole loss of the American economy, and Counterpunch is sponsoring this, and it'll be out, I think, within a month. I think it's already advertised on Amazon.
Sir, how important is it that we bear testament, bear witness to who's really done this? Because the establishment obviously controls the mainstream media, owns it lock, stock, and barrel.
Right.
The White House admits they're engaging in billions of dollars of fake news purchasing, propaganda being implanted in mainline TV fiction shows, not just news. How important is it that every American speak out?
It's very important because if enough people could catch on, possibly something could be done. But it's so hard to wake people up. And they get so many conflicting explanations. They have their own biases and prejudices. And that's why it makes it easy for the bad guys to prevail. So I think it's the sort of thing you try to do is very important. And people need to catch on in time. I mean, they may not be able to do anything now, but if they don't know what's going on, they certainly can't do anything. So knowing what's happening is the beginning. If you don't get that far, then you don't have any chance at all.
I want to finish up with the economy and, again, where you see it going with the current management, clearly not changing since Bush left, the same people under Clinton that got rid of the Glass-Steagall. But before we do that, you talk to a lot of other economists and other authors and other researchers and a lot of other high-powered mainstream people. Are they horrified by the fact that things are only intensifying under Obama? Are they upset about the dollar sliding towards its death? I mean, when you talk to those...
No, most of them are in denial. They're in denial, and they don't understand the situation. Look, Alex, for all of this fiscal year that's just ended, the budget deficit was 4 times larger than 2008. So that's a massive fiscal stimulus in terms of conventional economic policy. In addition, we've had incredibly low interest rates. The Federal Reserve has created massive bank reserves, and yet it's had no effect on lifting the economy. None. The unemployment rate rises, and as you've already made the point, it's measured. If you measure it the way it was measured when I was in the Treasury, it's over 20%. And so this massive conventional stimulus, both on monetary policy and fiscal policy, both of them, the strongest probably we've ever had in our history, they've had no effect whatsoever in lifting the economy. Houses are still going into foreclosure. People are defaulting. The real estate, the commercial real estate thing is beginning to hit. The dollar keeps thinking against every currency. You know, we even talked about this. It thinks against the Brazilian currency, against the Botswana currency. Wherever you look, there's this sign of decline, policy, the conventional policy they use, fiscal stimulus, monetary expansion. It has no effect. And yet they're all in denial. They all think, oh, well, it'll all be different soon. They even say we have a recovery. Look, in any recession, you always have an up quarter, because when the recession first hits, everybody stops producing because they don't know how bad it's going to be. So inventories get depleted. So then you have to produce something for the inventory, and you get an uplift, and that's all we've had.